definitely can see why older players of Warcraft are a little bit unimpressed with WoW's story. I think it makes a lot of sense. Because this is so much more like linear and cohesive, but it's because it's telling a relatively zoomed in story about main characters. It's almost like Warcraft is like a snippet. Warcraft 3 is like a snippet of something so much bigger. And because it's just a snippet of it, it's able to be told in like a linear, compelling, easy to follow way, where WoW's just not like that. WoW is like everything all at once. Also, you know, years after these events, and, you know, leading to, not that long after these events, I guess, but leading to, it's so interesting that like all these events take place and then not long after is when the player character comes into it. It's just kind of, I could definitely see that for someone who came from Warcraft, how World of Warcraft could just appear to be like a big jumbled mess of something that you can't understand. Because you go from something that's like so cohesive and in the game to something that's so much more obscure and like harder to be direct with. You're telling so many other small stories about and throughout the world that the focus on the main narrative, like what they accomplished in Warcraft, is just like not, it's not as good in WoW. It's just not as good in WoW. It's easier to follow the story that I just played than it is in WoW. But again, WoW, and that would go for even for Classic probably to a degree. It just, I think that one of the best parts of WoW and about the War Within is that they're telling a primary, singular narrative that everyone experiences the same way. And I think that that's something that Warcraft did, that World of Warcraft didn't do for the last, like, 6 years. Is, like, telling a cohesive, like, storyline that is impactful and doesn't feel like we're just filling time and space for no reason. Like, I definitely see, I think, what I perceive to be one of, like, the major disconnects and issues. So I think that the return of WoW having a main storyline is what it has right now, and it should be clear what that main storyline is, and it should be easy, and it still isn't, for someone to jump in and make sense of it, because, you know, without having to, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's what we've been starving for so long. It's why I'm happy that we're getting that. Well, it's a great thing because, frankly, what it seems then that, like, I and others around me have done is taken all these frayed, you know, things that might seem random in WoW, but that are, like, reoccurring themes and, like, reoccurring events, essentially, and, like, tried to piece that together in order to understand what the cosmic narrative is that's happening. And it seems like finally they're taking new methods of blending the smaller individual stories into the cosmic narrative in a way that is, like, exciting and compelling and will keep people engaged in the way that the story in Warcraft 3 is told, for instance. And makes you, like, really, like, I can't even imagine playing through Warcraft 3, like, getting through the story of Arthas and Illidan and all that shit, then them announcing that they're making an MMO, and then going through that, fighting like an elemental lord, opening the gates of Ahn'Qiraj is fucking nuts, especially after what you see with the Nerubians in Warcraft 3, and the old ones, whatever you want to call them, the faceless ones. You go into Naxxramas, which is like literally a flying bastion of the fucking Scourge, which is insane. You go to TBC and you go to places like Draenor is kind of out there, frankly, but then you get the Sunwell. You get all that shit, the Black Temple. You fight Kael'thas Sunstrider and Illidan in that expansion. Like, and Lady Vash. Like, isn't it Lady Vash? Yeah, and Lady Vash. And then in Wrath, you fight Anu Barak again. You fight the Lich King. You fight Yogg-Saron, which is very tied in with the faceless shit that they were doing at the end there, obviously. You get to see all the Titan involvement with it and see that the Titans have always been enigmatic. The Titans are basically like the unknown ancients that like no one really knows very much about, but the hints have always kind of been laying there, which I really like. You fight the actual Lich King. Like, what? You fight Kil'jaeden in Burning Crusade. The final boss is Kil'jaeden. Like, you fight Archimonde. Like, what? Like, that's insane. Like, you fight all the coolest fucking enemies, man. You fight Archimonde, you fight Kael, you fight Lady... Dude, we didn't actually fight Sylvanas until, what, Shadowlands? And it was, like, not even that good? I mean, the Sylvanas fight's all right. It's pretty cool. But, like, is it what we would have thought, expected? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe with the circle and the cycle, maybe we should have seen it coming. You get to actually explore these parts of the world. Dungeons and shit all themed around it. Kata's really where it took a different direction. With the reintroduction of Deathwing and the aspects, they were trying to show, I think, a little bit more of maybe what happened at the cosmic level. They started establishing more of the cosmic story on top of what they had already done. And then by Mists of Pandaria, they had relatively solidified what they were going to do. Mists of Pandaria through Legion is a pretty direct era in terms of storytelling, with the exception of the giant flub that is the end of Warlords of Draenor. And while contrived at times, and put into books specifically at times, was still very good. But you can see a clear change in narrative direction with the finale of Wrath of the Lich King. After playing Warcraft 3, I can so much more clearly see, like the Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, or even the Frozen Throne, and then, Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and then the Frozen Throne. And then you basically have vanilla TBC Wrath. You basically have these two eras that are succinctly connected together, because their lore is basically directly just a comeback to what happened in Warcraft. And then at Kata, it kind of shifted directions. It started to bring the old gods into it more. They shifted more towards that, which you could tell they were trying to set up a little bit at the end of Warcraft 3, and kind of let you know, hey, there's something older than the Legion versus the Scourge, by the way. There's something older than the Kaldorei versus the Legion. There's these Forgotten Ones as well, and by the way, don't forget there's Titans. So they kind of started to introduce more this cosmic level of Titan involvement, of, old god involvement, what have you, and then started to expand upon that throughout vanilla. They did it with Cthulhu, obviously. TBC has almost no mention of the old ones, with the exception of the Arakoa stuff, as far as I can remember.
Enjoy.
Thank you very much,
for
sir.
Being a lore nerd who charters a path through towards the true destination with your predictions.
Thanks, man. Thank you.